Yeah, how do you put someone in jail and you don't even name the clients? That sounds kind of insane. There was a lot of people that met with him and did business with him and traveled with him after he was arrested.
Names, last names, area codes, okay.
Who created this book?
Epstein himself.
We're so grateful to be joined by Jeffrey Epstein survivor Annie Farmer. Annie, thank you so much for taking the time to come back on the show.
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions.
Jeffrey Epstein once tried to get an invitation to meet Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan said no. Long before any documents became public, Epstein was surrounded by billionaires, government leaders, tech bosses, and famous entertainers. But Joe felt early on that something wasn't right. Now he's discussing details from Epstein's contact book and what allegedly happened on the private jet known as the Lolita Express. Rogan is pointing to information he believes the FBI did not fully hide in the released files.
They'll have an understanding of how things are really working than ever before.
Yeah.
Like this Epstein file thing, right? That was a big eye-opener for a lot of people. When you see how many people after 2008, after he was arrested, after he went to jail, were actively taking money from him. MIT took money from him and tried to hide it and said to make sure that any donations from Jeffrey are listed as anonymous. So
Wow.
you find out like people are like, they referred to him as Voldemort, like you couldn't say his name.
Wow.
There was a lot of people that met with him and did business with him and traveled with him after he was arrested, after he went to jail.
Do you spend a lot of time reading them?
No, I try not to. I try to have experts come on. I try to
And
read. You can't change it.
Yeah.
And it'll f with your head.
Yeah, it's
Like
toxic.
You will really get.
It'll stick with
yeah.
and I know I've tried not to.
In a recent episode of his podcast, Joe Rogan said that in 2017, one of his guests, physicist Lawrence Krauss, attempted to connect him with Epstein. Emails between Epstein and Krauss appear in the newly released material. Epstein asked Krauss for an introduction, writing that he had seen Rogan's show and thought he was funny. Krauss reached out, but Rogan declined. Epstein later suggested Rogan could join a dinner with Woody Allen on Friday. Krauss answered back, apologizing and saying Rogan seemed more hesitant than expected. At that time, Epstein had already faced sex crime charges, yet he continued to meet and communicate with extremely powerful figures, including Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Prince Andrew, and Jay-Z. Rogan felt uneasy immediately, partly because Alex Jones had been warning about Epstein years earlier, long before convictions or document releases.
I'm in
How
the
many
files for
people?
not going.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm in the files for not going because Jeffrey Epstein was trying to meet with me.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, and I was like, what?
I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Aren't
I
you
was like,
glad?
Yeah, but I would have never went anyway. It's like, it's not even a possibility that I would ever went.
But did
especially
you-
after I Googled him. I was like, what the f are you talking about? This was like 2017. One of my guests was trying to get me to meet him. I was like, you high?
That
Like, what the f are you talking about?
For what reason would you? What would be
If I was a guy who was like sucking up to the rich and powerful, if I was really interested in hanging out with rich and powerful people.
You know, it's crazy. That's so crazy. But yeah, some people
Some people get intoxicated by being in a circle of rich and powerful people, even if they're not, like, they don't even have any ambitions of being one of those people. They
Yeah.
just want to be around them. They want
Yeah.
to be around Nobel Prize winners. And
Yeah.
because this guy what he was doing was very clever in that he was getting all of these very powerful and very respected people together.
Yeah.
And you would figure like, oh, it's
If that
safe.
guy's there, if that lady's
Clinton's
there.
here. This
yeah.
is fine.
Right.
Clinton's here.
Yeah.
How could this be bad?
Yeah.
Look, it's Steven Pinker. How could this be bad?
Yeah.
You know, he's a genius. Like, and so you would go, I would imagine, you would go to these, because like, there's people that went to these, like, he had parties in New York. Like, he brought in celebrities and comedians. Didn't Louis Black get invited to one of those? I think he's talked about it. I know Chelsea Handler went to one of them. It's like he would bring all these people in, and he'd like to be around famous people and entertainers and a lot of intellectuals and professors. And Noam Chomsky was famously deeply involved.
Joe has said that hearing Alex Jones talk about Epstein years ago made him cautious. According to Rogan, Jones repeatedly claimed that disturbing things were happening on the island. He argued it wasn't simply a vacation spot for the wealthy, but a place where influential people could be trapped in compromising situations. Jones alleged that Epstein gathered blackmail by inviting powerful guests, drugging them, and secretly recording them. By 2017, Epstein had already been convicted of serious offenses. Rogan has said that the fact some major figures still met with him raised major red flags.
Seems very dark.
Very
because
dark.
it seems like it was this bizarre blackmail influence thing that was going on for a long
For
time.
so
A long time.
Through different administrations.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
what's so unbelievable about it.
It's
how
dark.
long it was going on.
The story gets even more troubling when people ask why Epstein would gather blackmail and how he gained access to elite circles in the first place. Becoming friendly with members of the Saudi leadership and the British royal family is not simple. Former President Bill Clinton was also photographed with him. Having that level of access makes some wonder whether Epstein had help. Rogan has suggested it's possible Epstein may have been supported by a foreign power whose goal was to gather leverage. That idea would explain the money, the jets, the island, and properties around the world. Many still ask, how else could he afford it?
Just get real and
What
say,
do you, if I gun to your head, what do you think your best assessment of what Epstein, who was Epstein, who was he working for?
well, I don't know, right? So I'm just guessing. Everybody wants to say he was working for the Mossad. He very well could have been. He could have been working for the CIA. He could have been a guy who was on his own, but also working with them, right? Like a guy that they used, but they never fully endorsed.
Like an asset?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a guy who could move money around.
Right.
He definitely...
Good at laundering money.
The moving money around stuff was very weird because he had money through no way that anybody could ever explain.
Yeah.
He had an enormous amount of money through no way that nobody could ever explain. Which, you know, if you're state funded, you're funded by Israel and Israel's funded by America, and, you know, there's also NGOs and nonprofits, and there's ways to move money around where you can give this guy money.
Yeah.
So he was like... Weinstein, who is an economist, right? Weinstein's a legitimate mathematician.
Eric?
Yeah. So when Eric met him, his first inclination was he was a fraud.
He's a construct.
Yeah, a construct. And did he tell you the whole story about the girl sitting on his lap?
Yep.
So Epstein, while he's meeting with Eric Weinstein for the first time, has a beautiful girl sitting on his lap, and a woman. I shouldn't say girl. He said she was like in her 20s, and she's sitting on his lap, and he's bouncing around, starts juggling around while
he's asking math questions.
Yeah, talking serious. So he was obviously nerd fishing. He was fishing for nerds, and I think he caught a lot of nerds in that net. There's a lot of those
100%.
guys that wound up going to that island. They probably thought, this is great. We get to party.
Much of this discussion circles back to Epstein's so-called Black Book. It reportedly contained names, dates, and phone numbers of visitors, along with information about victims. For years, people believed there was only one copy. In 2009, authorities ran a sting after someone online claimed they had it and wanted to sell it. Video from that operation appeared in later releases. In the footage, Epstein's former Palm Beach house manager, Alfredo Rodriguez, tried to sell a small book of contacts, saying it listed powerful individuals and victims. Rodriguez also alleged that Ghislaine Maxwell kept a database of girls, possibly including explicit material. That database has never been found. Maxwell has continued to refuse cooperation, even after Epstein died. It leaves many people wondering who she might fear.
Names, last names, area codes, it's okay.
Who created this book?
Epstein himself.
This book was made by Epstein?
This is a video of an FBI sting operation with Jeffrey Epstein's former house manager and an undercover FBI employee from 2009. The Palm Beach house manager, Alfredo Rodriguez, believes he is selling Epstein's address book to someone representing a lawyer of Epstein's victims.
You will see a lot of important people here.
He claims that the book contains contacts of powerful people, as well as Epstein's victims.
So those are mostly underage girls, the numbers?
They were very young.
A source familiar with the case confirmed the video shows the sting operation, which court documents show happened 2 years after the FBI demanded that Rodriguez turn over any Epstein documents. Instead, court documents say he kept the address book and tried to sell it for $50,000.
Alfredo, how are you? How you doing, buddy?
In the occasionally redacted 45-minute video of the meeting, Rodriguez implicates Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's close associate, who's now serving a 20-year sentence for of minors.
Ghislaine Maxwell was his former companion, a very powerful lady from England. She would go to the former Eastern countries in Europe and find girls for Epstein. And I knew that because I went with my wife.
Rodriguez also claims that Maxwell kept a computer database of girls, something he said he saw briefly once.
What kind of pictures?
Naked girls from Sweden, from Romania, from Czechoslovakia, from Brazil, from
All
Colombia.
minors? All young girls?
Very young, very young.
Like when you say very young, how young are we talking?
16, 17. The teenagers, they had braces, most of them.
Rodriguez provided no evidence to support the existence of the database.
Good count it. And while you're
The video, released as part of the recent trove of Epstein documents, abruptly ends after the agent hands Rodriguez a bag of cash and says he will call the lawyer.
The island wasn't the only place mentioned. His jet, nicknamed the Lolita Express, comes up again and again. Victims have testified that Epstein often traveled with girls on board. According to them, crew members and passengers could see what was happening, yet nobody reported it. Instead, many stayed silent.
It took a lot of people involved. It took doctors, psychiatrists, gynecologists, dentists. All these people knew what was going on, hairstylists. I mean, the list goes on. I could keep going on and on and on. Drivers, chauffeurs, butlers, housemaids. It took all of these people turning a blind eye, which they weren't blind to because we were right there blatantly in front of them. They knew exactly what was going on. Everyone's turned a blind eye in the place where I was supposed to be protected, in my country where I was supposed to be protected. The justice system failed us then. I believe they're going to do something amazing for us now. I really believe in them. I believe that the New York Southern District wants to do the right thing. And I will do everything that I can do to be a part of helping them do that.
The aircraft appears throughout flight logs and investigation records. These documents show Epstein flying guests across the United States and overseas. One email dated January 7, 2020, with the subject line about flight records, claimed that Donald Trump appeared as a passenger on at least 8 trips between 1993 and 1996. It also said that on 4 of those flights, Ghislaine Maxwell was present. Another entry listed only Epstein and Trump in 1993. One more listed Epstein, Trump, and a 20-year-old girl, with the rest blacked out. To be clear, appearing on a flight log does not prove a crime. It shows travel and association, not charges. Still, the records have led many to question why those trips happened.
Epstein's wealth was so vast, you know, the fact that he had this fleet of planes. We've heard a lot about the Lolita Express. What happened on the Lolita Express?
Everything that happened on the Lolita Express and his other planes was the same thing that happened in his bedrooms and the massage rooms, on the beach, wherever we were. The abuse did not stop because we're in the air. 95% of the time, there was always involved. Jeffrey couldn't take a 2-hour flight without having to ejaculate. Like, that's how sick this man was.
How did you live every day? How did you get on board that plane? How did you live knowing you're going off to New York or to the island or to wherever you were about to be trafficked to? You must have been a ball of dread and anxiety.
I was horrified. I was sad. I was angry. I was disgusted. I was a shell, and the only way that I could cope with what I was going through was, taking Xanax. And Xanax is like an anti-anxiety tablet, but it also, it took away that feeling of anger, sadness. It made me feel numb. It was a numbing tablet.
Recently, the Department of Justice made public the names of 6 additional billionaires connected to Epstein. These had been hidden before. They were revealed only after senators formally pushed for fewer redactions. People continue to ask how many other names remain sealed and why the DOJ has been cautious. Critics online argued that victims asked for privacy, yet famous individuals were protected instead. Others believe powerful connections may be influencing decisions.
Congressman Massey and I went to the Department of Justice to read the unredacted Epstein files. We spent about 2 hours there, and we learned that 70 to 80% of the files are still redacted. In fact, there were 6 wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reason. When Congressman Massey and I pointed this out to the Department of Justice, they acknowledged their mistake, and now they have revealed the identity of these 6 powerful men. These men are Salvatore Navora, Zorab Mikoladze, Leopig Leonor, Nicola Caputa, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of Dubai Ports World, and billionaire businessman Leslie Wexner, who was labeled as a co-conspirator by the FBI. Now, my question is, why did it take Thomas Massey and me going to the Justice Department to get these 6 men's identities to become public? And if we found 6 men that they were hiding in 2 hours, imagine how many men they are covering up for in those 3 million files.
Rogan has also questioned why no one from the client list has faced prosecution. He points out that the FBI holds footage and that the 3 million pages released might represent only 20% of what exists. If authorities wanted, he says, arrests could begin immediately. The Bureau had access to material for nearly 2 decades. Even though the Black Book surfaced in 2009, no listed person has gone to trial. Some believe that reflects how influential certain contacts might be. There are claims that Epstein had links to intelligence agencies, such as Mossad. However, there is still no confirmed public proof tying him to any service. Those ideas remain allegations repeated in media and online.
But yeah, I think the public will be rightly frustrated if no one is prosecuted for the Epstein client list, no one at all, which, no one, like at least, I don't know, the top 5 or something, like some number. There should at least be an attempted prosecution of the worst offenders.
Well, particularly if Ghislaine Maxwell is in jail for trafficking.
Yes.
Because, trafficking...
Well, that means occurred.
Right. So she's in jail for it.
Yes.
So,
who were the clients?
Yeah. Yeah, how do you put someone in jail and you don't even name the clients? That sounds kind of insane.
I think, yes, it would. Yes, because...
It's just stunning that they've been able to hold it back for so long. It's really kind of amazing.
Yes.
Like when people say that people can't keep secrets, what the f*** are you talking about? Look at this.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of these things are not like... It's common knowledge, but we don't actually have the proof.
Right.
So the proof is there. I mean, there's lots of videos. Yeah, there's lots. I mean, the dude is like a mountain of whenever they raided Epstein's place, there would have been like a mountain of evidence. Where is that mountain?
Right. What'd you do with it?
Yes. Like who took possession of the evidence?
Yeah.
Specifically.
Right.
The individuals.
Where are the tapes?
So far, the biggest consequences have often been public backlash. Peter Mendelsohn, the UK ambassador to the United States, lost his position in September after emails suggested a closer relationship with Epstein than he had admitted. Prince Andrew faced accusations from Virginia Roberts, who said she was directed to be with him when she was 17. He has denied everything. Even so, the impact was severe. King Charles removed his military titles and Andrew stepped away from royal duties.
Disturbing photos of the former Prince Andrew to his alleged sharing of government documents with convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein. The fallout from the Epstein files once again putting the British royal family into turmoil. Andrew has denied all wrongdoing, but the pressure is now ramping up on the royals to do and say more about their disgraced relative. The Crown, under fire.
Charles, how long have you known about Andrew and Epstein?
From King Charles to Prince William, shouted at in Saudi Arabia.
To what extent do you think the royal family has done enough around the Andrew and Epstein issue?
ITV also capturing Queen Camilla getting tough questions too.
Do you have a message for Epstein's victims, Your Majesty?
We've never actually seen other members of the royal family heckled to the extent that we have in the last few days.
Epstein is gone, but Ghislaine Maxwell remains in prison and has repeatedly declined to help investigators. Victims have testified that she played a central role, yet many observers feel broader accountability has not followed.
As her lawyer continues to press for clemency in exchange for her testimony, something President Trump has continually declined to rule out. How does this all make you feel?
It's honestly very disturbing to see these images of her and have her be looked at as someone who could potentially be providing any kind of information in this case. I mean, she has refused over and over to cooperate with the investigation. She's refused to have, she doesn't have any empathy or has not expressed any empathy or remorse to her victims. So I think it's highly problematic that anyone would consider negotiating with a serious criminal like this. And I think it would just really be indicative of guilt in some way, because we know that she is not a credible source of information.
And you say to her victims, as you know, she has repeatedly said that she had no involvement directly with actually.
Yeah, I can speak, very personally, but the fact that that's not true. She was towards me. And there's so many other crimes that she committed that she wasn't even prosecuted for. There were 4 of us that testified at her trial, but I have now met so many women who say it was because of Ghislaine Maxwell that I ended up being, sometimes for years, and that she was at times involved in that herself. So she was a very central figure in this system, and her efforts to minimize her role have not been effective. We've seen in the files that have been released already several places where the emails she sent are contradictory to things she said on the record before.
Just last week, Maxwell was called again to testify, and she chose not to respond to questions. If Epstein acted alone, critics ask, why stay silent?
Ms. Maxwell, were you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions. My habeas petition is pending in the Southern District of New York. I therefore invoke my right to silence under the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
13 interview. If you want careful reviews of the timelines, documents, and the difference between proven facts and speculation, subscribe and turn on notifications. I'll keep breaking down what can be verified and what cannot. Share your opinion below. Is this a justice system failure, or is something else happening behind the curtain?